Hello everybody, and today I'm going to be bleeding the brakes on the XJ40. Now, because we operate a standard brake circuit where you have a split circuit, the brake master cylinder is on the driver's side of the car, so that means this passenger, or as I look at the car from the back, the left hand side of the car is furthest from the brake master cylinder. So it's this one that we need to bleed first. I can see just up over there the bleed nipple. So the easiest way to do this would be to take the wheel off and grab it from behind, but because I'm a bit lazy, I'm going to see if I can get to it from just having the car jacked up a bit. Looking at it, it does look I should be able to get there. And looking at it, it is I think that's a 10mm bleed nipple. So 10mm should do it. Now, because there's not many jacking points on the car at this angle, I've jacked it up on the standard jacking point, as you can see there. There is technically a support point on this A-frame mount, but what I've done is I've just put a few blocks under this wheel, and I'm going to just leave those there, so if the jack does fail, it's just going to fall onto these blocks, so it's not going to hopefully cause too many issues. For bleeding, I'm going to be using a Gunson's Easy Bleed. And actually, whilst I'm under here, I'm going to have a quick look and see how we are rust-wise, especially in this section under the exhaust. And it doesn't actually look too horrendous. It's this side that I do have the corrosion problems with, certainly inside the car, but looking at it from here, there's the bumper mount, which is actually in really good shape. They're normally corroded. This splash guard is normally gone. In fact, on an early XJ40, let's be honest, most of the metal is normally gone. I think there is, where that fresh underseal is, I think there is a bit of trouble there. There doesn't seem to be any issues around here, which is good, and all of that is just the inside of the bumper itself. So there's the bumper mount, there's the bolts holding the bumper on. So yeah, sorry, that's the captive nut for the bumper mounts, and then you've got the bumper itself, which is the only part of the car that hasn't really been rust-proofed. So that's the only part of the car that is really serious. Well, not even serious, just has corrosion issues. Anyway, back to this. So, let's have a look under here. So, I need to obviously pay a bit of attention to that mount there. Probably get some de-ruster onto it and hammerite. But the important bit is underneath the mount. And that box section looks solid. So this box section here also looks okay as well. So the main issues with this car do seem to be cosmetic rather than anything else, so that's comforting to know. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the underside of the car, although I've noticed there is a bit of a leakage around the rear differential, but to be honest, it's been like this for years and it's never really gotten any worse. Oh, just noticed this here should be there. That shouldn't be draining into there, that should be there. So that's one of the drain points. So one of them comes from the fuel tank filler area, and I'm not sure where the other one comes from. I'm not sure if it's a tank vent or something, I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, that looks okay. The A-frame is in pretty good shape actually. All of this oil is actually keeping the rust away from the A-frame, so it's doing its own rust proofing, which is good. And the rest of it, certainly on this side, that's solid. And there is the fuel filter right there, and somewhere close by there should be the fuel pump as well. The problem is I can't actually remember where the fuel pump is on these. It's not an in-tank affair. I thought that the fuel pump was close to the filter, but I may be incorrect in that assumption. Right, anyway, let's see what we can do with getting these brakes bled. So, if I just move this out of the way. And perfect, I can get to the caliper, more importantly, that bleed nipple. So what we'll do is we'll fill up a receptacle with some brake fluid, so that when we use the easy bleed, it's just going to be sucking brake fluid into the system. And one of those one-man bleed kits will do just the job, because they don't suck back anything. Oh, you must excuse the camera. Right, let's get this sorted out. The nice thing about using one of these at the other end is that it's sealed. So, we're going to go under the car. Obviously this would be easier with the wheel off, so just remember that. I'm just trying to do this in a way that is honestly easier for me due to the limited amount of space I've got in here. Right. There we are. It's actually better upside down. That, if you're wondering, is a sunroof drain, which is clear. And over to here, there's our bleed nipple. Let's grab this with the other hand. Got a little pipe there. So, as I was saying, that's our bleed nipple. Let's position this about here. Here's our pipe onto said bleed nipple. Easier said than done, because they are quite big bleed nipples. They are quite large calipers, so it's going to take just a couple of seconds to get this on. Right, let's just pause this and get that sorted. And there we go. So we just need, looking at that, that's a 10mm spanner. So I'll just go and grab a 10mm, loosen it off, and then we'll start connecting the other end. So we've got the spare tyre inflated to around 20 psi. And we've got a box of attachments here. And the one that we need is this one. We've also got some hose here to run from the calipers, which is handy. So let's get this open. So the kit also comes with this handy hook, so you can hook the unit up like so. So that would go onto the neck. And for this one, you've got a couple of seals here. So you have one seal, or one washer, either side of the cap. And this is what you want to end up with. You've got a washer and the nut, and then you have the washer and the other nut. So, just screw that onto the master cylinder. Now the kit does fit the majority of cars, however it doesn't fit all. It's just something to be wary of. And quite a good sign that it's sealed. As you can see the seal there pressing against the cap itself. The next thing is we fill this with brake fluid. So the tyre deflated, so it is not hard to the touch, but around between 10 to 20 psi. Make sure that there's no leaks from around the cap. If there is, tighten the cap a bit more and take a bit more air out of the tyre. I've actually found that XJ40 wheels are almost too big for this job, so if you've got a smaller wheel from say K11 Micra or a smaller car, then that would probably be a better one to use. Right, so that connected, what we need to do now is go and open each bleed valve in turn and keep an eye on that fluid level, because we don't want to be drawing air into the system. So here we are. Now it's either going to be a 10 or 11. So I'll start with a 10 and work up to the 11. And it is not a 10. That's the 11. Yes, it is an 11. Oh, hopefully it will crack open. There we go. And you can hear it beginning to flow in. There you go. So you can see there's a little weep from around the bleed. No, that's not the weep, sorry, that's the spanner. But you can see it going in. There will be air because we're bleeding air out of the master cylinder. So we want to get all those air bubbles out. Also, we want to make sure that we don't overfill that little canister. And that's running bubble free, so let's nip that up. There we go. There we are, so that's nipped up. And going into there was actually bubble free, so let's go and check the level, and then we can go and attack this side, which I don't even need to jack up for, because I've got the car jacked up anyway. I can reach this side without having to jack up this side, so that's handy. Right, let's go and check the level in the bottle, and if needs be, top it up, and also empty this one. So looking at it, there's no weeping anywhere. And that hasn't even hit halfway yet, so what I'll do is drain off the other end and bring a bit more fluid through. So you really want to properly flush it, because that master cylinder would have got a lot of air into it. So I'll go and do that now, and then you'll be back with me when I start the other side. This one was a little bit tougher, so I had to use some plus gas on it. Also just notice I've opened it a little bit much because it is dripping slightly. So just wind that back a bit. There we go. And that's again an 11. So it's a little puddle there, which isn't the end of the world. And looking at it, that's actually running nice and clear as well, so there's no air bubbles. We're getting quite a nice little fill up in there as well. So let's grab the 11. That one's a 12. And That one's the 11. And let's just nip it up. There we go. So there. And there. Oh, there we go. That should be tight enough. Perfect. So just remove this. There we go. And hopefully, there we go. That doesn't seem to be weeping at all. So I'll just grab the 11. That's the 12 again. I'll just grab the 11 again, and I bet you that's the 10. That's the 11. No, it's the 12. Oh, you want to do everything by touch. That's the 10. Yeah, it's definitely not 10. What is it? I'm wondering if I used a size too big. No, that's not the 10. I'm wondering if it's actually an imperial size. Because the 11, if you look, that's the 12. The 11 is, it fits, but it's not perfect, as you can see. But it's good enough to tighten it up. So I'm wondering if it is. There we go. Wonder if it is an imperial size. Right. There we are. I have a feeling I might need to replace this caliper, so just give it a bit of plus gas anyway. Right, let's turn my attention to the front. So that one's the 11. These have been opened more recently. These calipers are new, or refurbished rather. New to the car anyway. And we'll leave this one open for a while, as we've obviously got quite a bit of bleeding to do from the master cylinder. There was an initial burst of air, but that looks to have cleared. So I'll give that another couple of moments. Also, whilst I'm doing that, check the level in there. That's going to need topping up before the next run, so you don't want to drag air into the system. This one actually looks okay. There's no more air bubbles coming out apart from that initial burst, so just tighten that up again. Oops, there we go, and there we go. That's nice and tight. And on to the next one. So this one is a 7. Don't have a 7 spare, so just crack that off a touch, pop the pipe on, which seems to be splitting somewhat. There we go, turn that. Turn it some more. Actually, that's more than open enough, I think. And that's coming out. Doesn't seem to be any air bubbles in that, so that's good. Then just wind it back in. Like so. Take that off. flip the ratchet and tighten this up again. Don't go super tight, otherwise you'll start stripping the threads. And there we go. Right, let's take the air pressure off. There we are. And all I need to do now is take this off, put the normal cap back on, and then just test the brake pedal. So we'll just confirm that the pedal is firm. Which it is, it's not sinking to the floor. And that is done. If the car was MOT'd, I would probably take it for a test drive, but as it's not MOT'd, I'm not going to do that. The next step for this is going to be an MOT. Obviously, next thing I've got to do is put the wheels back on and everything else. But that is done, and it actually worked out easier because I've got limited space there, and actually there's a bit more space that side. But it actually worked out just as easy to do this rear end by not taking the wheels off, because thankfully the bleed nipples were in a really good place. Anyway, that is that, and now the brake overhaul is complete. So if you found this interesting, don't forget to hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Take care, thanks for watching.